Praise God.
I know that's right.
No matter how hard it gets.
Thanks for calling Wholesome
We haven't
Maintenance.
finished yet. We haven't finished yet. There's so much of life ahead. We've got so much to do.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. I don't know the rest of the words to that song. That's all I know of it.
There was
Anybody else?
no.
There are verses, you know.
I really yeah.
I got nothing. Praise God.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Hey, yo, what's up? Welcome back to Hope for Maintenance. Ew. Whistle. Whistle. How's everybody doing tonight?
Fantastic.
It's a humble day for me. It's a humble day. I'm learning to, take it easy on me.
I've had a really interesting experience with humility, but I think I'll save it for the end.
Okay.
During our maintenance check. So let's put a pin in that. I'm glad you
And
said the word humble, though.
my fantastic was manifestation because my day sucked.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, for sure. We're manifesting, yeah.
My day is just daying. It's not doing too much either way. But praise God for that as well.
Huh?
Amen.
My
Amen.
God today.
On those days that just day. Yes, God.
So, what are the people talking about, Sam? Let's get into the...
Niggas online.
Yeah.
So
Thank you so very much.
I
we
love that
gotta
son.
keep
Those
it
days.
alive. We gotta keep it
hmm
alive. So the niggas online are definitely talking about Jerrod Carmichael. He just came out with a new reality show. It's a reality TV series, but it's a different twist called the Jerrod Carmichael Reality Show. And even if you haven't watched the show yet, it airs on HBO Max. New episodes are every Friday, I believe. You've seen a clip on Twitter of Jerrod and Tyler Perry having some kind of conversation that is uncomfortable and food is being
Tyler
ordered.
Perry.
She meant Tyler, the creator.
Oh, girl.
And it
Because
just came out like
what?
butter.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler
Mm-hmm.
Perry, and I just knew. I'm like, yeah, Tyler the Creator. And I'm a big Tyler the Creator fan, so please just understand it's been a long, humbling day for me, and that's where that stuff came from. But
Cool.
you've been on TikTok, you've seen the clips of him and Tyler having this conversation, and everyone is like kikiing about it and also having conversations about what took place. So the thing that happened is Jerrod and Tyler are best friends, and Jerrod recently caught feelings for him. And instead of keeping it to himself like the rest of us, he decided to text it. And
Do the
then
rest of us, pause. Do the rest of us be giving it to ourselves? Like, I can't, if I've ever developed feelings for anyone, I've told them. Even if it's under the guise, like, I know this isn't a thing. I know, like, it can't be more than this. Like, I remember having a whole boyfriend and having the biggest crush on this boy when I was, like, a freshman in college. And I was just like, yeah, I'm sorry, we can't hang out. Like, I definitely feel a type of way, and I need to keep my distance and my boundaries. And he was like very cool with it. But yeah, I be telling. So I get Mr. Jerrod.
if I am not clear that you are in love with me without a doubt, forget it. It's fine. I can do without it. Yeah. What about you, OVO?
What was the question?
When you have a crush when you have a crush on somebody,
I don't have crushes.
And that's
moving
where I
on.
thought we were gonna go.
Yeah, for
Got
sure. I don't have
What
crushes.
is
No.
having feelings? Says OVO.
Yeah, I don't have. I develop feelings from the inside of the house. I've never like been like, oh, I like this. That's not how it works in my world. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
That's
there's
so
like a lot
interesting.
of yeah.
Can you say more?
I've never like hung out with somebody platonically and my feelings have grown. I think because there's so much preliminary that has to take place for me to even activate the idea of feelings that I would know very early on. And I wouldn't even put you in friendship. So anybody who's in my friendship zone is glued to the floor. And so am I.
Got it.
Amen.
So Jerrod
Wiggle room for a little bedroom boogie though. What were you saying, Sim?
Okay. Got it.
correct.
Got it.
Keep it going. So Jerrod has feelings for Tyler. And
Uh-huh.
now I personally feel like it gives that maybe there had been some kind of platonic or something may have happened that was just
Bedroom
like
boogie.
a little boogie, if you will.
Okay.
But I'm
Okay.
just, that was not said on the show. But he reaches out to him and says this, and then Tyler sends him back a voice note saying, "Ha ha ha, you dumb bitch." And and they don't talk for some time.
You don't say.
I'm still in shock.
And
I'm still on dumb bitch.
That's what I'm saying.
That's where I'm at.
so as time goes on, and Jerrod he's nominated for an Emmy. So he asks Tyler, "Hey, you want to go to the Emmys?" Which I think is very cute too. Like I'm at, "Hey, you doing anything this weekend? You want to go to the Emmys?"
That's so cute.
And Tyler's like, "I got to shoot all day. So sorry, I won't be able to make it, but that's super dope." And the really I just, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I don't like you, we're a person.
Does Tyler hate him? Quickly.
Yeah.
Quickly.
Yeah.
Quickly.
Tyler's out of there. Tyler's out of there. Hmm.
And
Y'all
so,
ever seen that meme? It's a very old, very black Twitter meme, and it's this girl putting on lip gloss in like homeroom or something, and this boy leans in for a kiss. She said, "What the
and she
fuck is you
said, "We
doing?
don't do that." Yeah.
We
We ain't
we
never did
ain't
that
never did
before."
that. Absolutely.
That's what this kid.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And he is that, like, complete through the whole saga. So, okay. That happens. And so remember, this is just conversation between friends and phones. What I do like about the formatting of Jerrod's reality show is that it's part comedy show, part reality series. So it feels a little scripted, but apparently it's not. So the only part
Mm,
that is um hmm, produced for real is the part where he's like on stage and he's doing, like, remember, for those of you who watched his biggest stand up where he came out to everyone, it's that same kind
Mm,
of breaking the fourth wall comedy style. So you're
yeah.
saying jokes, but you're also talking to the audience. So he's telling the audience
mm,
about this happening. So what we do
mm,
is we go from that and then we go to this hotel room. So where he has set up a conversation on some Gayle King interview style stuff to discuss the fact that I told you I had feelings for you, and then you said, "Ha ha ha, you dumb bitch." And he's having this conversation with Tyler, but then Tyler orders food in the middle of it. Like, there's a point where Jerrod is like
no. Okay, we're
struggling to
done.
explain, and there's a lady behind Jerrod, and Tyler's like, and she's coming in with food, and she's like, "Yeah, the cart wouldn't fit." He's like, "Yeah, it's fine," and he takes a food break.
So what? I'm trying to find the constructive thing, the constructive part of this to speak on, and it's not hidden. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's a lot because I mean I've heard bits and pieces about this. It's a little ludicrous, and I'm finna go watch it when I get off
Yeah.
this call. But I think it's really impactful and empowering. And OBO, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that it's really good that we're able to see this sort of conversation happen on a platform, and from two creators. And this sounds complicated and problematic, but hear me out. Just go with me. I think it's really interesting and cool to see it from two, I guess, masculine presenting black guys. And I think that, not that it's any more important than any other type of gay men like expressing their feelings or whatever, having type of platform,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it allows a certain type of person who'd be automatically turned off by seeing two effeminate guys, or seeing like a sort of like love and hip hop situation where there's a lot of drama and clashing, or like a Zeus Network type thing. I think it's really important to have this sort of thing as well as that, to just, I don't know, like show some dexterity and allow this sort of vulnerability to exist. And I think that means a lot for a lot of guys who might be BL to see this sort of representation. So the reason why I said it feels like it's kind of problematic because I felt the same way when Lil Nas X first came out, and he wasn't dressing as flamboyant. This is before he was kissing boys on stage, but I thought it was so cool to see this sort of figure in this position, and I still stand for Lil Nas X regardless of how he presents himself because of just how boundary breaking that he is. But I thought it was healthy, and again, please tell me if I'm doing too much. But I thought it was healthy just to have that sort of like neutral representation because a lot of it gets washed out when people are just unwilling to expand the horizons into a territory that may make them feel more uncomfortable. So I'm putting it in the school of thought that I say about like Tyler Perry stuff. Like we might think we're so far beyond what Tyler Perry has to offer, but there's an audience for everything and everybody, and we got to meet certain people where they are. So yeah, I guess I'm not saying that the people who might open their minds, but seeing Jerrod Carmichael and Tyler Creator have a conversation are the only people that matter. That's not what I'm saying. I just think it's healthy for the landscape of what we're dealing with on Twitter
For sure.
from the manosphere. Yeah,
And you know,
those are
like
my thoughts.
I swear I'm gonna be quick, friend, because I know you want to say something. Watching it, it didn't feel like watching a gay thing. It didn't feel like watching a black thing.
Mm,
It didn't feel like it felt like watching a people thing. And I think that even with
yeah.
being an award season and seeing things that do end up being Emmy, Oscar, all of these things nominated, it's the thing to where we can all relate as human beings. There was a tweet that was like, "It's comforting to know men be ruining their friendships as well by being horny." You know, it was just a very relatable moment. So
Yeah.
I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. It was brave.
For
Because
That's
sure.
it.
if I pour my heart out to my bestie, he orders food. I then offer him to taste some of my food. He rejects that
It says
offer.
he's big
Then
straight.
th- then goes outside to pass gas. Then comes back in.
I'm sorry. These are all things that happened.
Yes.
Correct. It would have never seen the light of day from me. That's just me. So I commend the bravery. And
Okay.
Absolutely.
also, I didn't know Tyler the Critter was so like thick. This yams back there.
Mm.
Oh,
For
I didn't know
sure. No, for sure. There's
it's
definitely
wagon.
somebody dragging the wagon for sure. So
Hmm.
I do understand my dog Gerard. I ain't saying he was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I do get it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of wagon,
Okay. What a segue. I
Ooh,
like
that was
that.
good. You ate that
You
up.
did that.
Okay.
so you know the weather is getting nicer. And with weather getting nicer, the girls are putting on their sundresses, they're putting on their bikinis, they're putting on their things. And weather is nicer is relative. It's also spring break, so a lot of the girls are going on vacation. But there's a lot of conversation because of that. We're seeing a lot more bodies online. And I took two tweets here that I want to talk about, and then I want to ask you guys a cool question. So, So Cold Hearted writes, I don't want to cuss. Doesn't feel like a cussing day.
Okay.
B's talking about let's go body for body with a full mommy makeover BBL lipo 360 with sculpture.
Wait.
B, beat it. Post your original body and let's do it. There was also, do you guys know who Rennie Rucci is?
No.
Okay. I just assume she's one of the girls. Okay, so we'll just call her one of the girls. Rennie Rucci says she doesn't like when women brag about having a natural body. If you look good, you look good. You don't have to throw that out there. So there's a lot of BBL versus natural body conversations going around right now. From people speaking about what they like, to people speaking about what they want, to people making comparisons, to people talking about the mannequins who are now like being built more in a more voluptuous way to
Mm,
complement people who've had alterations done. So I'm
mm.
interested to know, are you guys pro surgery, pro natural, or do you not have an opinion at all? How do you guys feel about surgery?
I think it's a loaded question. I think it's a question that requires a lot of nuance to answer because I'm pro you doing whatever makes you feel happiest and best. Surgery itself is a thing. Um, it's the types of surgeries people get that may not be flattering for their shape that gives me pause. You see what I'm saying? I've
Mm-hmm.
seen a lot of BBLs that, and that's really all I'm seeing. I see a lot of BBLs. I see a lot of like breast enhancements in ways that, to my eyes and in my opinion, are not flattering. Uh, but these folks felt the need to get those. So, I think it's really funny because I do believe that I'm on a Magic City documentary somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
bad mouthing BBLs, and I didn't mean it that way. Because the conversation was about like, the conversation I was asked was, are BBLs like changing and or negatively impacting the stripper game? And I thought it was a really interesting question because stripping, sorry, which is sort of like sex work adjacent, began, or like, I don't even know how to say it, but like the type of women who were prized for that line of work were people who had natural bodies that like fulfilled certain desires and like had certain like shapes that you couldn't just get every day, or like you went to the strip club to see them. And now that anyone can get it feels like it's like messed up the playing field to me personally. I ain't never been a stripper and I don't have the body to strip, so I don't have a dog in the fight. But me personally, I feel like it's cheating a little bit and it's oversaturating something. And I don't know, because maybe it's all bad. Because maybe anybody should be able to strip, but
Have you guys been to a strip club before?
yes,
Not a
There's
woman,
no.
not with women there.
Oh, okay. There is no cheating to me
okay,
because it's either you got it or you don't. And
but
what
I can
even
go
with,
get it.
but you can go get the look.
Hmm.
But I've been to a strip club before where there were like a bunch of girls, like bodies crazy, beautiful women, like, and the moves, go home, get off of the stage.
Mm.
I remember one time I ended up throwing all my money to this one girl, skinny,
Hmm.
skinny, mini, not a wagon, not a nothing, nothing.
Hmm.
But when I say the baby could dance, she had the moves. She was doing all types of tricks on the pole. Like, she was doing the thing. So to me, when you go to the strip club, and I guess some people just do want the girl that she just stands up there and she looks nice. But for the experience, there's no cheating that. I think there's still an art to pole dancing, to stripping that you have to work for.
I
Am I?
feel that.
I lied. I haven't too. I went to Cheetah once. I forgot. It was like
That's
it
not
was
a real
last
strip
year.
club. But yeah,
That's not a what?
it's not a real strip club.
What makes it fake?
Is that the gentleman one where like you can't touch the strippers and they are on stage and they like it's like a go-go?
Well,
Yeah.
they were naked and she was in my lap, well, trying to be at least. So I don't know if that was
How did
what I
that
was.
happen?
No, I mean she tried to be. She tried to sit down. I was like, I'm sorry. I'm not. I didn't know I was coming here, sweetheart. I had to. I don't want to be awkward in here. Um, but no, I'm for surgery. Actually, I'm all for it, and I don't always like how they look though, and that's a me thing. But it's also a projection. I think also to go back to the Rennie Rucci comment that she made about people bragging about being natural. I've always kind of had a love hate relationship with that. Actually, not even a love relationship, just a hate because I think it's whack. Like, it reminds me of all the ways in which people have taken pride in just it being natural. And I'm not saying that's
Mhm.
not something to be confident in, but to weaponize.
The win?
I don't necessarily think it's that. You know what I'm saying? And I
Oh,
think like because it reminds me of the girls who's like, I don't wear weave, but you have split in, so like it's not really a flex. Or like my teeth, I don't have veneers. Yeah, but your teeth are also yellow and crusty. Like like so it's like not really like a flex if the natural ain't really just hitting. So again, if we're talking about a natural body and you don't want to augment it, fair. I don't think you should have to, should want to. If that feels societal pressure for wanting to, then sure. But I don't think it's something you can use to like wield over someone else because you're just simply natural and they're not, and it makes you somehow better or more confident or more anything. And I guess there is nuance to it, whether or not it makes you more confident if you're willing to embrace your natural. But I also would question if you're truly embracing it, if you're again weaponizing it, in my personal opinion. But I just ain't really with all that.
I think also like something I think about with my opinion to that comment specifically is I don't know if you guys have ever seen the Jay-Z music video, Girls, 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 where he had
Mm-mm.
like all of these different types of women from different ethnicities, different body sizes, different vibes, different styles. And he was really getting into the beauty and the allure of each different type of woman and the type of quality that they brought to the table. I
Yes.
think there is that girl who she's the no makeup girl. She has a silk press all the time. Always has the glowing skin. Lips are popping and moisturized. She's never gonna put on too crazy of a fit. She might throw a little bag in there. She might throw a little shoe. Her designer isn't gonna have the logos on it too much, but you know she wears. And then you have the girl who is the designer girl. She is the labels girl. She's, you know, and I think that I've seen both of those women eat. You know, like I've
But
seen
have
both.
you seen that subtle girl say things like, I'm natural and you're not?
Absolutely.
I have never seen a bad chick legitimately who was a bad
Bad.
chick
You didn't say
say that.
bad. You didn't say bad. You said that subtle
No,
girl.
you gave me glowy skin,
Oh, the one.
silk
Oh, yeah,
press
the
with a
one that I'm
bag.
talking about. Okay, yeah. So let me clarify. The one that I'm like, she's T. She doesn't give a damn. She doesn't care. But I do think that there are girls who fit in that demographic, but they're not necessarily taking it. They are the no makeup girls, silk press, very basic, but they're basic. And I think that that type of commentary comes from a place of feeling threatened. Because at the end of the day, where you shine wouldn't be
Mm.
where this other girl shines anyway. And if you really know yourself, you would know that.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with like the competition aspect because you should be able to do whatever makes you happy. I genuinely do believe that. And I think that's the difference between like what we're saying and the combativeness on the internet and the condescending nature and tone of like how we talk about certain things. Um, but I take issue with it because I'm sitting here like, I don't feel the same way, but I don't feel the same way because I feel like what I've seen most of is women with, and I guess it goes back to my thought about cheating. And we just talked about like in the episode or two ago how I felt about cheating in school. Or maybe I had to talk to y'all about that like off the phone. But the way enhancements have allowed certain women to get ahead in a system that praises certain things that limit other women in particular. And so that's one thing that gives me just a little bit of qualm about it, like when you're using it to get ahead and then like literally step on people on your way up. And then the other thing about it is when I've seen the arguments about getting work done and looking better, and maybe you don't. You see what I'm saying? Like maybe the work shouldn't have got done and you were better off without the work, you know? And that's still a subjective thing to think about, but I also am thinking about it's so many different things that color my opinion about it. But the last thing I'll say is when we went to Tulum for my birthday, maybe 2 years ago, we were in this beach club having a good time, and there were these women or a group of people, and all the women that were in that group had work done. Their lips were done, their asses were done, their boobs were done, and they might not have gave white, but they weren't black either. And so, you know me, I'm just always thinking about how just a trendification of black women's bodies and fetishization of black women's bodies, the copy and paste and things of that nature. And they all also were very much giving, we're better than you. And it's like, girl, you look fucking silly. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's so many waves to this conversation. At the end of the day got to end. But, you know, let people do what they want to do, but also like just like that respect needs to be mutual, like let people exist how they want to exist, and then like enhancing your body should be for what you want personally for yourself to like be confident looking in the mirror, not to like be better than or pedestalize yourself over someone who doesn't have those things, um because the work be shoddy sometimes as well and you look silly.
However, and I'm gonna give a specific example in a second, but I want to say this first. It looks silly to you. It looks shoddy
Okay.
to you because,
Okay.
to be fair, some of these
Mm-hmm.
women that be looking a little like to you, you're like, girl, what are you doing? It's given to somebody else. It's really like people are gagging over it. People are wanting to look like that. People are glorifying that, but it may
Mm-hmm.
just not be your vibe. You know what I'm saying? Because there
And I
are
want to
men that are,
clarify one more time. I want to
yeah,
clarify one more time because you showed me a picture of Bernice Burgos and we almost fought earlier. And if you want to get into it, we
it
can.
wasn't Bernice
But
Burgos, and then we're gonna fight because it wasn't Bernice Burgos, and it was someone
and
else.
forgive me, Bernice. I don't know none of y'all's names. Um,
Who was it?
who was it?
Well, we're gonna speak
Drea.
about her
Okay.
after.
So
But okay,
Drea's body looks great. SZA's
Hmm.
body looks great. And so
right.
there is great work that is done. When I say look crazy, I mean like there is a flap between your ass and your thigh because it's just hanging down and there's no like, there is no what's the word I'm looking for? Composition and there's no composition. What is the word? Proportion. There's
The
no
word
proportion.
flap is sending me. But go ahead. I'm
Yes.
listening.
So like this is your thigh and what's supposed to be a curve, like your booty's hanging like this. That's what I'm talking about. Like when there are actual errors in the work because it was
Hmm.
not done well. That's what I'm talking about. And I understand that that still gives to somebody, but
Right.
I would like to make sure I'm clear in saying that good work is good work. I'm not saying you look crazy because I don't agree with like whatever. I've made it clear.
Yeah.
Would you like to rumble?
In a moment.
Okay.
So before we get to Drea, because I want to also like give you some basically Claremont twins, for example, right? The
Okay.
Claremont twins a were a case that people had things to say about.
Okay.
A lot of people were
Hmm.
like, you look insane. This is what they
Yeah.
look like before, this is what they look like now. You look insane.
Yeah.
But it was a look for a lot of people in their circle and a lot of the people that they were
Mm-hmm.
around. And they loved how they looked. And they were being featured in brands, magazines, music videos, everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the case of that's what I mean, where it's like you could say the proportions could have been off, or this kind of looks a little botched, or if it looks, but it was a look for them.
Mm. Okay.
Right. So let's get into my good sister.
I've got a lot of things to say about trends, but we'll cap it there. Go ahead.
What are we talking about? Even trends as much as we're talking about how regional beauty is,
That's what it is
right?
for me. And I
Mm.
Like
think
when we
the
think about, say it
Mm.
again.
no, go ahead. I think you're gonna say what I was gonna.
Like even when we think about like people get their teeth done, there's a shade of white for veneers that's called Hollywood white. It's like literally called
Mm.
Hollywood white. And there's people who are in Hollywood who have these perfect teeth. Now, if you shine those bright white teeth in the South, it's going to give them big teeth. It's going to give the things, but in other areas it may not look the
Chiclets.
same. Exactly. Or even when we think about body composition, what's thin in the South is not necessarily what's thin in other places, right? Like
Right.
well, like you go on the West Coast, even the Midwest, a lot of women are extremely thin, right? And like we're in the South, it's like you need a sandwich, you need this, you need that. But over there, it's like, girl, you look great. Your body is T, you
Mm-hmm.
look snatched. So I think it's like regional spaces in this conversation that needs to be highlighted. But I also think there's also just a subjective space when it comes to beauty in general.
For
What we
sure.
like, even for myself, I always think about when commenting on women's bodies. I'm a gay man, so I'm like, like what I like, I'm never sexualizing women, right? At best, I'm romanticizing women, and that's at best, right? But like, I don't look at women like on some like, oh, hit that. It's very much like what gives. I'm imagining her in an outfit. Like I know a
Mm-hmm.
dress would fall great on her, and I know a straight man is not saying, oh, a dress would fall great on her. Like that just don't sound like something the straight guys are saying. But yeah, I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
add the regional aspect to the chat. I think it's necessary to highlight.
For
That was
sure.
good.
Yeah.
So by now, because we've spoken about Drea before, when we spoke about her baby daddy, you know that I love the girl. Like I'm just a huge Drea fan. I think she's incredible in more ways than one. But Drea had a an article on BT last year where she set the record straight on her cosmetic procedures. So people were asking like, "Oh, did you get a BBL? Did you get a BBL?" And what I love is that she broke down the different types of things she actually got, and she did not get a BBL. So she had a little bit of work done on her butt. I was gonna say bottom to be cute, but she did a little work on her butt. She tightened her tummy. She got a boob reduction, and then she got them lifted. So she did little things and little tweaks here and there. And what is important to me about that is that I think that a lot of the girls don't have language.
Mm.
And when I say girls, I mean everybody, by the way, too. But a lot
Mm-hmm.
of the girls do not have language for these procedures and
Yeah.
for this surgery lifestyle. All they see is
Mm-hmm.
BBL, so they go to the doctor like, "Can I get a BBL? Can I?" And that's where we fall into these things of not having proportions. When it's like there's an influencer, and I want to find her name so I can say it right. But there's an influencer who actually has an entire platform talking about the different beauty procedures that she does. Whether it's like the under eye thing where you can like blow up your eye, get rid of dark circles, or her different types of chemical peels, or some of like the bleaching things that she does to get rid of like darker elbows and dark spots around her bikini line, like all of that, getting her teeth done. She speaks about these procedures because I think especially in the Black community, we don't have frame of reference for how to go about these things. So instead of me, somebody, even like me having my babies and stuff, like when I didn't have Io, like right when I had Io, I had a little bit of a tummy. Do I need a BBL? I didn't have that much of a tummy to put in my bottom. Like that wouldn't even, and would be so disproportionate. Where would I be going? No. However,
Please.
could I benefit from a tummy tightening? Absolutely. Because I didn't really like, do I need a full tummy tuck? Probably not. But it's about having this.
Can we, in the name of being responsible though, I want to just change. I want to ask if we should or could change need, right? Like you don't need, right? Because I think need sends this message, and for me at least, that like our bodies and the way in which they transform and evolve are not still perfect in the way that they are. You know what I'm saying? I think,
But
go ahead.
I just feel like that's sort of what I was saying earlier in terms of feeling like anyone should be able to do what they want to do. But I also feel like people who may want to get cosmetic surgery feel like they themselves feel like they need cosmetic surgery to be their best selves. And so while, yes, I do think we can agree at a base level that everyone is just as beautiful with their natural situation, everybody on this call feels like there's something that they need to be a better version of
For
themselves.
sure. Because when he said it,
Yeah.
I said, maybe they don't need it, but I know what I need.
But need, okay, well, maybe this is a personal thing. I'm like need, and I'm a person who has done stuff, who would do stuff, but I don't know if I necessarily thought I needed it. I wanted it, but did I need it to do anything? I don't know if I could agree that I needed anything. I think a want and a need to me feels a little bit different. I don't know how to classify it in this moment because I wasn't prepared to like really decode what need versus want is, but
But
I don't know. Yeah, like I don't know. I guess it's just like I don't like. I guess maybe that's the part of surgery that I have a little bit of
prefer.
dissonance about.
I think
Yeah, because I'm
prefer.
like I don't want. Yeah, I don't like the idea of women feeling like because I think that also creates this idea where women are so they feel like they need these bodies and this stuff so bad they're willing to go to doctors who are not qualified. They're willing to spend their last money to get BBL. They're
For
willing to
sure.
like because they feel like they need it, and that's the part that's problematic to me. Like, yes, if you want to change a little thing, you have the resources, you have the wherewithal and the capacity. Go ahead, but like you don't need the things. I
I
don't
feel
know.
that like to promote a message that you don't need certain things. Like, yes, I think we should make that clear, but I don't think that we can take away from the fact that beauty standards and socialization exist in such a way that some women do in fact feel like they need, and some
No, for sure.
women will in fact to certain places and countries or whatever to get work done that's cheap or whatever because they feel like they need. So I just think both of those thoughts can be in the room. Yes.
And I want to see that change. Actually, I think I want to see the idea
Yeah.
that you need it to change. Like, but
Absolutely.
I don't. But also, like in the same breath, don't think people should stop getting surgeries. I just don't want you to get them because you think you need them. If that makes any sense.
That makes sense. And I just
Yeah,
also want to throw in the pot the fact that our different industries really play a part in what we feel like we need or not. Because if you are in the porn industry, you probably really do feel like you need. Not that there's not women in sex work that have all different types of bodies,
for
but
sure.
Nicki Minaj even spoke about in her coming up as a young rapper around a lot of male rappers, they were always bringing in a lot of women who had these type of bodies. So where even though she was like, okay, that's you and I'm me, the guys used to tease her a lot. So we have to also think about what happens psychologically for some people when they're in different rooms. Because when you just behind your phone, just texting and seeing what's going on in the world, but and it's no shade, like your life does not require your physical to be in the
Yeah.
room as much. It's easy to say, girl, it's not that deep. But I do agree with you that we definitely have to change our language. We have to change our narratives. Because we are getting into a dangerous place where we're seeing people dying.
I think
Because
we're there
No, for sure.
because
For sure.
I think social media, the dark side of it is it doesn't allow a lot of room for imperfection. And I
Right.
think because editing is such a attainable thing, a tangible thing, like, even for myself, and I'll use me as an example. I think this is a pretty good example because my skin actually does look pretty good these days. And I did a video recently. I was like, ignore my skin. I'm going through a thing. And someone commented and was like, the skin is clear. Am I tripping? But I think because I'm predispositioned now to have skin that looks like Facetune because that's all you see. You know what I'm saying? And so because my skin isn't glowy, but because my pores might be a little bit open or whatever that looks like, I'm dispositioned in that way. And I think like social media has made us kind of show up as these caricatures a little bit, right? People are
Right.
expected to have perfect skin to look like Photoshop in real life. And it's like, when are we going to get back to, if at all, the point where people are able to not have perfect bodies, like, or perfect skin, perfect teeth, perfect hair, perfect, like all the things. I think people are just like clamoring to be damn near perfect. And you're right, Sim, to say people are risking their literal lives and spending their literal last to look perfect. And I'm not going to ignore the fact, I think it's necessary to say that it's also resulting in financial reward to look a certain way. And I think it's
Correct.
also at a height now. People, the game is not changed that much where women are not benefiting. And I don't make this about women. Women and men are not both benefiting from physical beauty.
Enhancement.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think this is a perfect transition into the next thing I want to speak about, because what that has
Yes.
to do with is likability politics. It's not just about you liking yourself.
You're chewing the transitions today. Give her a show. You're doing it.
She's a
Cheers.
host.
Thank you.
She's
Oh,
a host.
she's a host for sure.
So it's not just about how we feel about ourselves, but it's about the fact that we think that when we are liked, it will allow us to be in more rooms that give us what we want, right? So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Essence recently did an article. I'm gonna pull it up. It says it's time to admit that being liked is more important than being good at your job. Now, Amanda Seales recently did a video where she spoke about the fact that, and to me, I still don't feel like she was bothered by it, but she was just saying a fact is that, I've never been invited to a lot of these
I think
places.
she was bothered
You think so? Okay. And then we can,
because of the way
go
it
ahead.
began.
Okay. So give me your point of view.
Well, the only reason why I think she was bothered is because when you look at the way it begins, she literally gets on her camera, as she does. She literally be turning on the camera in the middle of doing anything. And she says, I just want to say, if it were not for y'all, I wouldn't think that I was doing shit.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like a statement like that has to come from a place of recognizing lack. And then she went on to say she hasn't been recognized in her industry on any platform, specifically the Black ones. She's been asked to use her talent for certain things, but not invited as a guest. And then ends it again by saying, if it was not for you guys' support, and even offline, Obio mentioned she's got 2.2 million followers. That's a great showing that what you have to say matters.
Mm-hmm.
But for it to matter so much and you're not getting recognition, yeah, I definitely think it comes from a place of like, I think this is fucked up, and I think someone like Amanda Seales, and what I don't like, and I'm not saying you were doing this at all, but what I don't like is the sort of strong woman trope that's being projected on Amanda Seales even in this moment. Because I think everybody thinks that they can talk about Amanda Seales, and then again, I'm not saying that you were. I'm just even saying that in the thought that this doesn't bother her, she's built to like go toe to toe with trolls on the internet, or like what's the word, debate with people who want to talk about politics or just have like malinformed or uninformed purviews. Like, she's built for that. But it's different when people are attacking your perspectives than when they're attacking your character. So I think she can still be a woman and this like matter to her. And I do think we need to see it as like, we've hurt her feelings and we've made her feel alone, because that matters.
Right. Go ahead, Fern.
No, you go.
Okay, I was just gonna say that for me, especially as a fan of her podcast, Small Doses, the
Hmm.
way that she speaks about these things when she's speaking about her stories in real time is that it is not surprising of you guys.
Mm,
Like, it is not surprising of them in
mm,
the industry. So for me, it's like two things can be true. I can be vulnerable and hurt about a thing and feel like it's whack,
Mm,
but I can
mm,
also not be bothered in the way where I expected more from you. It's just like, when
mm.
people are like, I'm just disappointed. That's
Yeah.
what she gave me in the video.
Mm.
I think it is hard. I just Google her sign. She's a Cancer, but I think it's
Mm. She's hurting.
Oh.
because I identified because for me, I often think if I'm forthright and respectable about whatever I deliver, then it should be received well. And
Mm-hmm.
I think in her mind, she's factual um and intellectually communicating her perspective.
Right.
And so the respect of that alone should qualify her to be in these spaces, whether you like me or not,
Mm.
whether you agree or not. And I think a lot of us who have things to say and who are mutually into the world often think that way. Because even for myself, I think that often. Where I'm like, hey, like whether it's through dating capacity or whatever, I'm thinking if I communicate this thing to you directly and honestly, then it'll be received well, blah blah. But it's like, oh, you okay? And I think even me calling her harsh, I don't know if I would call her harsh though, right? I think I honestly don't know what to call her because I think I'm also under the guise of I just know how people are. I know what they can receive. I know kind of what they can handle, right? And so I told
Mm-hmm.
that online. And to me, she's the person who just does not. But I don't know if that makes her harsh or not, right? I think like if you're saying what's on the nose and direct, it's kind of like, for instance, I'll give you an example. I, I'm OBO, and there's Bob, and then there's Tom. Tom's inviting OBO and Bob out to eat. OBO and Bob both cannot come because we have other things prior to do.
Mm-hmm.
OBO is going to say, though, I really wish I could. I can't make it. I have so and so to do. Bob said no. And like, is Bob wrong? Hey, you want to go get some, can you go get some food? I can't. That's what it is. And I don't know, like, if you necessarily owe people to say, oh, I'm so sorry, I wish I
Oh
could, blah,
my
blah,
God.
blah. And it's like, I think that, OBO, I think that I do, right? But also, I guess, I don't know, that makes you wrong for not giving all the fluff and all the, like, I wish and da 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 that a lot of people do. And I think Amanda, the person who is not wrapping it in that vogue that other people do.
So
But is she mean?
I'm happy you brought up the fact that she's a Cancer because I think that that's important context, and I'm gonna say why. Because we all took issue with a very specific Cancer's candid way of communicating emotions not too long ago. My mom. My mom is a Cancer, and I think that people think that Cancers are just over emotional, whereas they're not emotional in terms of just like I'm gonna cry about everything, but they are emotional in terms of I can't sit knowing something and not just say what's on my mind. Like that is just not who I am. And I
Mm.
remember my mother saying one time when I was calling her out on something she did that was wrong, I said it was wrong for you to share that information. And her response was, but it was the truth. And I think that that's a very Cancer-esque way to be is, but it's the truth. Where you
The
have people
Capricorn way to
around
be
you
too.
telling you,
You
do
said
you
what, Lena?
understand? Say it
I
again.
said it's the Capricorn way to be too. Oh, it's a Capricorn way to be too.
Yeah. Where it's like people around you are telling you, hey, maybe not that way. Maybe we add a little bit of this to it. Maybe not right now. And you're like, okay, yeah, but it's the truth. It's what's happening. It's what's going on. And I think even like the difference with, in my experience with Capricorns and Cancers, because my child's father, Tristan's dad, is a Capricorn. One thing about a Capricorn, if they feel like something not their business, they can feel all the opinions about it. They're just not going to say anything. Cancers don't care what is their business. If it's the truth, it's the truth, it's the truth, and that's just what it is. I think that there's a little bit more, people don't like that. People don't like the fact that they don't know when or where you're going to just say how you feel.
But these are also professional rooms that she's talking about, in my opinion, right? Like, these are like award shows. I don't think she's saying I'm not invited to your cookout at the crib. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? So I think she deserves to be in those rooms, like bar
I
none. Whether
agree.
you,
I hope
I'm
I
not
don't
saying
sound
yeah.
like I'm saying she don't.
No, no, no. I'm not saying you don't, because I'm prefacing my statement by saying I actually don't. It took me a while to get used to people who don't add the fluff. A previous version of me thought they were very selfish. Because in my mind, like, who are you to not accommodate the people around you? Like, humanity is bigger than what you do and don't want to do, right? I think I also grew up with a parent who went out of his way. My dad was a person who would like go out of his way and inconvenience himself for you. And so in my mind, I think I associate that with genuine care. Like, if you're not willing to inconvenience yourself on my behalf, how much do you care? Like, if you need 1,000 minutes to give me 10, I don't know how. But again, as an older, more evolved person, I know that self-preservation is your birthright. I know that you have the ability and you have the where you have the right to say, this is my capacity, and you can decide what that is way before you met me. And you can say, I know I'm a person who needs to maintain self. And that means to say my nose as nose and full stops, then I can respect that. But I think a lot of people just haven't evolved to a space where they say, like, the way in which I handle and manage people isn't the way, it's my way. And I think like that's kind of the juxtaposing energy of friendship in general, where it's like I can say, like my friends know, if you need me, I'll stop what I'm doing to come get you. It just is what it is. But you also have friends who are like, "Mitch, I'm booked," and no, and like, but they also show up in other ways. And I think Amanda's seeing a place where we don't get to see her full story because I've also seen her be very gentle. I've seen her cry. We've all seen this girl cry on socials. We've seen her be soft. But I think when you are like, people are going to take the consistent narrative. It just is what it is. And I just hate that, like, it happened. And one more part that I want to bring up is that I was surprised that her being a lighter skinned, softer hair textured woman didn't give her the Pam and Gina effect, right? Like, it didn't give her the Gina where it was like, I think it was a time in history. History is dramatic, but there was a time period where when lighter skinned women had bigger voices, we kind of big up them. You feel what I'm saying? It was like, yeah, like speak, like when Gina had her moments to like
Yeah.
stick up to Martin, but when Pam did it, it was like abrasive and aggressive and things, and we can kind of see that throughout history with darker skinned women. But I just thought it was interesting that as a lighter skinned woman who's speaking up, she didn't really benefit in that same or get that same grace, I guess. I thought it was interesting.
But
But let's be fair and let's be clear. The only
Okay.
reason we was like, speak, yeah, go ahead, girl, you go. The only reason we was given that is because they were still keeping it cute. They weren't
Mm.
just, you know what I'm saying, really talking about tearing down the opposition and F this and F that. Like they weren't, you know what I'm saying? Amanda Seales has made a platform about speaking up about things that are just plain bullshit. And she's intelligent, and I think that's the other thing. And it's no shade, and I'm not saying like I'm accrediting this to like Gina's character and that kind of thing, but the fact is, people don't like intelligent women who speak up, who make their own, like who have their own opinions. That's not attractive.
I'm now thinking about the Aunt Viv's, lighter skin Aunt Viv versus not versus, but then when you had darker
Yeah.
skin Aunt Viv
It
and
wasn't just the
yeah,
skin. It was the skin also. But that's a completely different type of woman.
the entire character makeup. And I was gonna say, Amanda has no Pam or dark skin and Viv. It's just her. There's no one for her to be more palatable than,
mm,
because it's just her. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, Sam, because yeah, she's talking about professional spaces, but she's also talking about spaces that are deserving critique. And two, I think everyone's pulling on this call. I just started going to Image Award things, so I'm all new to this. I've never been in the same room as Amanda Seales in any of these settings. The article on Essence, which I thought was in poor taste, if I'm being completely honest. I just think but I'll come back around to that. But
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of rumors as to why and how Amanda Seales has been slowly ostracized, like especially after having been a part of an ensemble cast like Insecure. Granted, you don't see like everybody on the cast like doing big things. Like you don't see the person who played her husband very much. You really just be seeing Ivana Rigi, whoever that tall man is, Lawrence. And I hate, and I'm not saying these things like dismissively to be disrespectful, but I'm just trying to make a point. Amanda Seales is one of the most famous people of that cast, and we don't get to see her flourishing and doing and progressing more as we've seen other people on that cast doing. And granted, she's done other work than that. Granted, she had her own special, but those things should only like contribute to her star power. And it's as of recent when she's been doubling down the things like politics, like establishments, like isms, and like taking what I can very much see, even though, like I said, I've never been in any of these rooms, what I very much can see Amanda Seales doing is being in a room where something is happening, like whether it's like even a very subtle shift, like in a power dynamic, and she's speaking up about it in the space. And I often think about the title of this article from Essence, Let's Admit Being Likable is More Important than Doing Your Job. I think what people like Amanda Seales and even people like myself would like to happen, to Obiel's point earlier, is to change the way these things exist and to make being good at your job more important than being likable. Because there are people in these rooms that are just not likable people, period. Like people don't like to be around them, who have power in these rooms, period. There are also people in these rooms like, you didn't invite Amanda Seales for whatever reason, say she doesn't have any workout, whatever. You invited like influencers and people who don't got no workout right now either, but you also invited Jonathan Majors. Like, I'm confused. I'm
Right.
confused. Like, we want these spaces, and I see Amanda Seales being a person who's like, you know, all or nothing, and we need those type of people to exist. And I think she knows we need those type of people to exist, which is why she might even be intentionally unwilling to compromise those rough edges of herself to make other people comfortable, because if she doesn't, who will? And so I often think myself, because I've gotten the sort of feedback that I know when to say something and when not to. And that's a really strange like bit of feedback for me to sit with, because I think a lot about how I can make the most out of the inroads and avenues that are being afforded to me. And that doesn't mean me necessarily being quiet about something, but just making sure that I'm being strategic about my every move. And like even making sure that if I'm not say like being like the party pooper, I don't make a scene at an event, that I'm still talking to somebody about things that I noticed that I didn't like. For instance, and I feel like I can talk about it publicly now because I've already talked with the people I needed to. The first year at the Image Awards, I was treated like shit. I was treated like I wasn't even supposed to be there. And like very much like you might think influencers who are invited to the Oscars or whatever the fuck, Grammys were treated, that were just there to be there, but I was nominated for an award. I didn't have a seat. A nice usher lady saw me minding my business, not necessarily minding my business, but like being polite, acting like I had home training in line, while all these publicists and other people were being rude and entitled. And so she escorted me to a special place to be escorted in with my ticket that she just gave me. And when she left me there, all of a sudden I'm being asked why I'm back there, and if I'm not Angela Bassett, I'm in the wrong place. And so I made sure to say something the next time around. Like I made sure not to advertise the awards, because I felt like it was unfair to me. I felt like I was using. I made sure to say something to the people, but I also made sure that I said it like in the most effective way possible. And that changed my experience, and ultimately, and I do believe it changed the experience for all of us, because apparently I wasn't the only person treated that way last year. None of the people in the social media category had seats last year, but our images and videos were playing on the screen. So I think about things like that. And I also think about how there has to be people who exist up and down the scale in order for it to work. The people who are only willing to be a face as far as representation, but not really make any change. People who are willing to do what they got to do to rise the ranks and then make change when they're up on top. People who are willing to like beat back things little by little and piecemeal it, and people who are willing to just be like, no, fuck this, it's terrible. You know, and I hate that for Amanda. But what I also see in Amanda right now is her playing the role a lot of Black women do, and just being that sacrificial lamb. So shit changes.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always a very glaring indicator that shit's not sweet.
Right.
And so back to my comment about the Essence article, I think it was in poor taste that I get I get everything is run by different departments, and individual journalists submit to specific editors. But for a platform like Essence that's supposed to like crowd around Black women and support Black women, and like Essence Fest to be the celebration of Black womanhood, I think it was in poor taste to let an article that, even though the person starts by saying, I personally like Amanda Seales, but to have a headline that says, let's face it, being liked is better than doing your job, it's like undercutting her at the same time. So, you know, I feel like even if people think that Amanda Seales is a figure they need to call in, that's not how it's done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think whatever, like, and what I also have known, even from my short time being in these rooms, you can go over these people's houses, you can have lunch. Like, these people be hanging out, these people just be like having regular relationships outside of these things that we feel like are like these iconic tent poles in culture. They're all run by people who have inner circles, people who are very close and personable. Like, conversations can be had and should be had, and like intentional bringing in. But to people, to I think to all of our points earlier, we as women in particular have just been socialized, and it's hard for us to have an opinion. It's hard for us to be who we are naturally, whether that's our bodies or whether that's our minds, because all of it is going to be judged by the people we see, and insofar as how much they are influenced by the whims and influence and needs and desires of men and or white people that they're employed by.
Mm-hmm. I want to, first of all, you ate that.
I know.
Yeah. Yes. You really like put that together so beautifully, and there were so many points there that really needed to be made. One of the points that I love the most is that we are all different people that have something different to bring to the table. And I think the worst thing that we can do, especially as women, because we're speaking about this Essence article, and I want to give 2 lines in that article specifically and encourage you guys to read it. As women, when we shame women for not being a certain type of woman, I feel like that's really just putting us all the way backward. It's like we're doing the same thing to each other that men have done to us all this time. Like, how are we getting ahead? How are we progressing? So the reason I'm saying that is there's a line in here. It says, according to a 2019 report from the Harvard Business School, 90% of what sets high performers apart is attributed to emotional intelligence, which correlates strongly with likability. The article then goes on to give other supporting facts to that and says, while I feel for Seals, I know that she's beloved by those who follow her work, I can't help but wonder if there's an opportunity for reflection on her part as opposed to yet another moment of mere finger pointing. It's just, I'm trying to not use my Bronx words because this is definitely fighting words, first of all. Because it's definitely, and that's why I started this conversation saying I don't feel like she was bothered. She didn't get on that video like, oh, poor me, thank God I have my fans. And that's kind of like the vibe that I felt Essence tried to paint that video as, where it was just a reality. It's a reality. Like, I'm thankful for the people who support me because, number one, a lot of what I do is independent, and you guys come out to the shows, you support the podcast, you buy the things. And if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be able to see the profit of my work. I wouldn't be able to see the fruits of my labor because the people in the industries who are supposed to be my peers, who are supposed to be giving me those flowers, are not giving them to me. That's just a fact. And this article makes it seem like she's like, it's your fault that I'm not getting business because you don't, and making it seem like, no, Amanda, you're the problem. When no, it is problematic that we just spoke about 2 companies, and I don't even want to get into all of that. We can get into that another day. But we just spoke about 2 foundations who have been designed to be there for marginalized groups who have literally in specific ways done the same things to those marginalized groups that oppressors have done to them, to why these foundations have been founded. And that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to give the specifics of that. That's all that I'm going to say about that. But yeah, so.
Okay.
Thoughts,
And
Obia?
that being said,
I don't know if I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I'm on the fence. Just because I mean, that is the system we're in.
Mm-hmm.
It's
right.
kind of like trying to make good cops. That's not the system of cops.
Mm,
And
mm,
so I think it is kind of like, I mean, yeah, but, and again, I think I kind of undid about what you said, Lene, about how to call people in. Because I think my original mind was that, like, maybe this is someone saying, hey, like, girl, we like you, play the game. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of people tell people often to play the game, like play up the ways in which will get you the attention, wear the thing, look the way, go the place, do the laugh, and like it will get you in the room. And I think we're kind of asking her to deviate from the system, but also requesting that she benefits from that system. I think those 2 things to me working together is
That's a
difficult.
good point.
Where I'm like, I mean, which is why my original perspective was like, cool, if you're the person who said I just can't go, be comfortable in that, and also be comfortable in not reaping the invite to weddings, the invite to birthday parties, the invite to trips. Like you might not get them, and I think it just kind of is what it is. I think we can talk about altering that system because you guys are right. Like it's not fair because I think also this is another conversation for another day, but I think we are weird this way. I say this often. I'm not trying to be funny, but like I did not want to share my fruit snacks. I did not want to share them. I didn't. And why I was made to share them with Johnny and Melissa in my first grade class, beyond me. I was hungry. I wanted my fruit snacks.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
I had no vendetta. I wasn't going to be combative. I just wanted my fruit snacks. That's all I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But see, and all I'm gonna say then, and this last thing I'm gonna say, I'm gonna shut up, is that to me, the article specifically was shady. And I think that there are some things that we just don't need to respond to if we don't have something nice to say. And that's why our good sis Beyonce be keeping it cute. Look at how many people throw shots at her every single day. And she
One
keeps
thing
it cute.
Sim's gonna do in this episode is give us a segue. And we're gonna call you every time, girl, because we weren't prepared.
I didn't even. It was so good this time. It didn't even hit me yet.
Yeah,
It was still cooking.
yeah.
It was
Because
still
I'm sitting here
cooking.
thinking, I'm gonna have to figure out the segue, and that's what my mind was trying for it. And then she said it, and here we are.
Well,
Yeah. What about Beyonce, Sim? Tell us.
well, that's your line, friend, because the next
Okay.
segment is up to you.
Well, I think this episode's actually had like quite a few topics that we've really like dissected, and I think that's so cool. What we wanted to get into this episode in particular, though, was how Beyonce is receiving a lot of praises and a lot of critiques, but a lot of it surrounding how she's been pigeonholed as a Black woman artist, period. And she's really been playing as of recent with the lines on that and taking her what I love so much about one of her recent captions about this new album, Act Two to the Renaissance, Cowboy Carter. Is she said that not only was it 5 years in the making and everybody gathered, that she got off that stage at the CMAs and was like, all right, bet, say no more words. I'm coming for y'all. But then too, she said it's not a country album. It's a Beyonce album. And I just think it's so bomb that your name is so ubiquitous that you can use it as an adjective and people just know what you're talking about. Because when she said it's a Beyonce album, that just led me to know that whatever she was doing, she was going to do it better than you've ever heard it before. And I'm not a huge country girl, and I can be honest and say that actually, I'll be honest and say that I listened for a third time to the bottom half of the track list right before we got on this, and I feel like I heard songs that I hadn't heard before, so I guess it just hit me in a different way. But I'm not a country girl. I don't go looking for country music. And so this wasn't an album that I felt like, oh, these are songs I'm going to be singing. These are songs I'm going to have on replay like Renaissance Act 1. Even though I wasn't a house girl either, that still gave me a vibe that I could jig to. Country is just something that is so far from something I identify with. Anyway, what I said to Sim is that it felt like walking through a museum exhibit, an art exhibit of music. And for me, that experience is also like I'm not like an art girl, but when I go into certain exhibits from that are created by Black women, there's always something that I can pull from and I can glean from that I can identify with, even for more so that I can gain some understanding that inspires me in a new way. So yeah, she definitely did her Beyonce thing on this album. Did you guys get a chance to listen to the complete project?
I'm not, you know what's crazy? I thought I had because I've been listening to it. I've been listening to it for the past couple of days, but then I noticed there were some songs that I missed.
Mm,
So for example, I listened to it on shuffle on Tidal, and I had never listened to the first song, which is American Requiem.
mm-hmm,
I just gotta say, what I love is how smart this album is. It is
mm-hmm,
such an intelligent album. And for those, have you guys ever seen the movie Requiem for a Dream?
mm-mm.
It is one of my favorite movies. So for
Is
those
it
of
in
you,
black and white, Sam?
it's not actually.
Okay.
It was
I'm
I
gonna
think
do
it's
a
a night.
little thing. about how many movies you don't call your favorite movies, because I feel like every time a movie
Didn't I
jogs
say
your brain, you
one of
call it
my
one of your
favorite
favorites.
movies?
I know, but how, are all the movies you've seen one of your favorite movies?
Breakfast at Tiffany's is my favorite movie in the world, in the entire world. But Requiem for a Dream is one of my favorites.
Okay,
Can I live on that? Can
I
I
guess
be?
you're
Can you
gonna
tell
have
us
to.
what requiem means?
Yeah, so Requiem. So Requiem has a couple different meanings, but mostly it's remembrance. It's a thing of remembrance, but it's also a very specific type of, I believe, either song or ceremony that is played in church, specifically Catholic churches. So what was so
Mm.
genius about Requiem, American Requiem, is she's singing this song and she's speaking about the American dream, and she's also speaking about like being in a place of remembrance of the fact that we all wanted something better at some point. We're fighters. We protest for things. We try to have better than we have now. But then she starts doing this little church melody thing where it's like you're taking all the definitions of the word and making it into a song. So to your point with it being a Beyonce album, ooh, it was, and that's the part that even as I'm learning to grow on some of the songs, they're like so different for me. It's like, wow, you did your thing. You did that. What about you, Obio?
I actually like country music, so
Mm.
but I like country music with the twang. So
Mm.
it wasn't it's not the kind of country music I like.
Mm.
But I can always count on Beyonce to put together a good project. I just think it's in her bones to put together a quality piece of work. Of course, she sounded amazing. Placements are great. I think Beyonce is gonna be Beyonce to the overarching point right now.
Right.
But
Mm.
again, I like my country music to sound like this and talk about when that rat took a piss, and I like that kind of country music.
Rat took a
Um,
piss.
I like it.
Mm. Very
And do
nice
you like
series.
Shania Twain?
I like all of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and mind you, what's funny was I've been a Tanner Adele fan for a few years.
I like her.
Uh, yes, and she used to date this white guy who was also really attractive. And they were like a cute little couple on TikTok, and she wrote a song about or for him at the time, and that's how I got introduced to her. But anyways,
Mm.
um, yeah, I think the discourse around the album is well, honestly, I think honestly though, this to me is creating a bigger conversation about what genre even is anymore,
Mm.
which
Mm.
I actually appreciate.
I like
You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? So yeah, I think that's the part that I'm focusing on in this whole entire conversation, or just the whole entire like discourse period about the album is like legit
Mm-hmm.
what is genre anymore? Because I think also when we think about genre, I mean, black people created a lot of what even the genres that have been predominantly ran by other races
And can
benefited.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to lose this,
Mhm.
but not to toot our own horn, but I feel like black people, I'm gonna take a couple steps back. I think white people are the only people who have ever needed lines of demarcation. I think white people are the only people who have ever needed to put things in a box because boxes allowed them to create structures and systems to then like put boxes in places they need them to go. Because when you think about the art forms that even originated country music as a genre or jazz music as a genre, were black people doing very unusual things with instrumentation, so much so that whatever they did became like was put under the umbrella of that genre, but they were doing a lot of really cool, neat, and free things that weren't necessarily like what the other person is doing. Like you can name so many blues artists and our rock artists and country artists like within black culture, and they have completely different sounds. And so, what I
Mhm.
really liked about this, thinking about genre and the way Beyonce tackled it, is listening to American Requiem, listening to a lot of the songs, it all gave cowboy energy. And when you think about what cowboys are and what they signified in America, was this sort of not necessarily rebellious because they have always been linked with patriotism in a really weird way, but cowboys are like outlaws. They are people who take life by the horns and sort of just do what they got to do to survive, and they fight for something and they stand for something, and that's all up and down here. And I feel like that's what makes this an album Beyonce was able to infiltrate and blow up, infiltrate in the way that they're saying the word. I don't think she's misplaced. I don't think she's doing anything that's out of her ability and
Mm.
or birthright to do in this album. but she has been able to shake it up in a way. And that's what I think Beyonce, what to Beyonce a thing means, is
Mhm.
to take it up a few notches, not even a few notches, like to take it into the stratus, take it to the moon, to the star. Yeah, no. I was gonna
Carry
say,
on.
what note was that? Anyways, but just to really blast, yeah, I'm trying to be serious
Woo!
because
Okay.
there's a point to land on here.
Mhm.
Taking something into the stratosphere and feeling all of the nooks and crannies that that genre allows by influence of not just the sound of something, but what it means symbolically, what it can mean visually, what it can mean. Um, Period. But I just think that she used that cowboy energy in every nook and cranny that this album takes you into, and that's what makes it fit.
I
I
blame
think.
fandom. Go
Go ahead.
ahead,
Okay.
Sam.
Okay, I'll make it quick. I dare to disagree with just one part of what you said. And
Okay.
that is the part where it's white people want
Mm.
needing these lines of demarcation, right? I don't think it's a white thing. I think it's a lame thing. Lame people, yellow, brown, red, whatever. And we've known this since we've been in grade school. The people who have been like, these are the rules and this is the way it has to go. Because when you flex the rules, it puts them in a position where everyone's going to realize they're lame and they're really not good at a thing. It's just helping them to be with the structure. The reason I say that is because Dolly Parton is on this album, right? Dolly
Mhm.
Parton was super, super rooting for this.
Mhm.
Um, and just like even her little skit was so cute and all of that. And then I also think of people like the Beatles, for example. You can say that the Beatles were rock stars or whatever you want to call them, but the Beatles came in there and made some drug songs that went crazy, and nobody else was doing that. And that's just
Mhm.
real bad, real tea. Like what they were doing did not fit in a.
Well,
But go ahead.
I don't mean, how we talking about white people as an institution. That's what I mean. They're a very
Whiteness.
choice, like white art, whiteness, and I mean like specifically Europeans and like just starting
Right.
that wave of
Okay, I
putting
can
things
get
in
you.
boxes, and that's what I mean. Like not Dolly, she don't count. You
Right.
know? Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think fandom plays a part in limitations, in my personal opinion. But I'm also not a
Mhm.
fan of. I'm only a fan of Brandy. But I think because what fandom does is it kind of pigeonholes you in some realities, right? I think when we become
Mhm.
fans of people, we want you to stay how we want you to stay the person I became a fan of. And I think a lot of people who are saying the things with caveats, like I love Beyonce, or I was a fan of Beyonce, or I like Beyonce, but I don't think she should. I don't. And it's like you don't get jurisdiction because you're a fan. And I think a lot of people think being a fan gives them jurisdiction. And I think like what we're seeing now is the byproduct of that fandom, right? I think we can say this about anybody who evolves. And I think what's constant is evolution, whether you want to flow with it or not. And I think we expect people to be who they are today for the rest of our lives. And I think what Beyonce is now saying, which feels liberating to me, is that I'm going to do what I want to do.
Mhm.
And I do think that when we bring up people, I think you compared somebody to Beyonce earlier, Sim, to transition us. I forgot, I don't know if it was the Drea thing or whatever,
Oh
but I
yeah.
think, yeah, but I think access plays a part in your ability to maneuver the space in a way. What I
Got
mean
you.
is you know what I'm saying? Like Beyonce's in a position in her career where she can take some of these chances and these. I think we think about people like K
Mhm.
Michelle who have been trying to do country for a very long time.
Right.
We think about other artists who have been trying to get you on board for other genres. I think even when we think about Chloe Bailey, who in my mind, in my opinion, outside looking at this, they're trying to find what her genre is, right? Like, is it this kind of like pop girl? Is it this
Mhm.
alternative girl? Is it an R&B girl? Like where I want to land. But I think the fans of it all doesn't really allow people to maneuver, which is why I think even now my only advice to people who are coming into the space and who am I to give advice is like be mindful of how you come in here because
Mhm.
what they latch on is what they're gonna want to see, and it's
Mhm.
hard once they decide that this is the you I like.
Right.
Good luck, boo.
That's it.
For sure. And definitely I think Beyonce um before I get into this, would you say that Beyonce was ever really an R&B artist,
Yes.
or was she
Opposed to what?
pop? Pop.
Mm.
The first album, oh, this is bringing me down memory lane. So I remember her first debut album. Wasn't it titled Beyonce, the one where she was in the diamonds?
Wasn't I dangerously in love?
That was
Don't
Dangerously in
don't
Love.
ask me. Don't ask me
Let
because
me see.
I'm not
You
a
could
fan.
be
I'm
right.
I'm
You
not a
could be
Give
stan.
right.
me the song. Is
It
Crazy in
is.
Love on that one? You got me
It
looking
is
so crazy
Dangerously
right
in
now.
Love. But
Okay.
she gave us R&B on there. But you have to remember, so Jay-Z did an interview a little while ago where he spoke about Beyonce's style. And he said that what attracted him to one of the things that attracted him to her was that she was doing this thing where she was like rapping, but she was singing. So she was
What
like,
songs were those?
so even Destiny's Child days, like,
Oh, low key, I could see him thinking that about me, myself, and I. I can believe I dum, dee,
you
dum,
know,
dum,
I
dee,
was
dum,
thinking of
dum,
Upgrade
dum,
You too.
dum. Yeah, I can see
Upgrade
that.
You a little
Okay.
bit, but like the
With
older
it.
songs too, like, and I can't think of any right now because now I'm just singing a bunch of Beyonce songs that are off
Mm.
Bootylicious.
my head.
Your
Bootylicious was
body
one of
so
them. The
bootylicious,
one that
boy,
no
but
no no, the
get the
one she
weather.
did for Pink Panther. Where it was like, ooh boy, you looking like you like check up on it.
What you see, what you come over and
Yeah.
check up on it. But am I a
I'm like,
Beyonce fan? Quickly.
yes,
Yes.
everyone is.
Yes.
But
What?
anyway, y'all live the life
Come
y'all
on,
want to live.
quickly.
But yeah, so like she's always had this kind of very unique flow, which is why I think the important part of this album is that it's opening up that genre conversation about the fact that a lot
Mm.
of people aren't even really in no genres. Y'all just put people into what works for
And
you.
that's kind of what I was saying because
Yeah.
like Beyonce's early music, it doesn't like pop. When I think pop, I think Ariana Grande. That's a picture that comes in my head when I think pop. When I think
Yeah.
R&B, I think Jasmine Sullivan, and I think Beyonce is like all up and through the middle of those and can do absolutely both.
Right.
But
Okay.
yeah, but
Well,
Agreed.
who do you
just
think of? We think of a country and neo soul. Who do you think of?
Country.
neo soul, I think love. What?
Music
What's
Soul
that
Child?
name? Yes,
Oh, Music Soul
Okay.
Child.
Music Soul Child.
Okay.
Country,
Jill
I think
Scott.
mm-hmm.
Just has country?
Neo Soul.
No, neo
Oh, neo
soul.
soul. I was about to say, wait, what now? Okay.
Dixie Chicks. When I,
Country.
or are we thinking of black people?
I was
Oh.
gonna say Carrie Underwood.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Definitely her.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
My boyfriend be watching rap battles, and there was this one bar. I don't remember what the setup was, but it was about a gun, and it was like the shit I got on top might not something something something, but the shit I carry under would, and that shit was so fucking fire. I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna tell you, give it to me. I'm gonna tell
Very
y'all.
good, young boys.
Mm-hmm.
It
Uh,
was. But I asked that because the fans are saying that they miss R&B Beyonce. And while Beyonce has like some R&B hits, I just wondered if we could just put her in that category. But I think everything we've been saying, she ain't got no genre for real.
that ended at Deja Vu.
Anyway,
But yeah.
anyway, yeah, she's been experimenting with expanding her music the last few albums. And the people are inspired to see her not being confined to the parameters placed around her just by being a black woman. Because when you're a black woman and you can sing and you have like the range Beyonce has, the grit, the growl that Beyonce has, I think it's very easy to be pigeonholed as an R&B artist. Um, Country fans are mad; they feel like she's infiltrating the genre. Whatever, get over it. It is very interesting because you can't infiltrate something that, like I said earlier, you have a birthright to, but also the difference, what really pisses me off and really chaps my khakis about this, I don't remember what the comment was, but essentially I saw someone under some post saying that Beyonce was coming into a genre that was not designed for her and sort of just trying to popularize it and appropriate it for pop culture's sake. And I responded, I said, this is a really weird place to copy and paste Black people's arguments about cultural appropriation for the past 400 years.
Mm-hmm.
Did you like, are we, and it just brings me back to my point, like even, this is kind of like an offshoot, but the whole thing with the Francis Scott Key Bridge coming down and people calling their mayor a DEI mayor. Y'all just like to say words.
Saying.
Y'all like to copy and paste our words and just say shit. Like y'all don't know nothing about nothing. And that's one of the most aggravating things I think we can experience because we're wasting time. Like we're wasting time, and it's also extra frustrating because you as a white person are taking up whiteness, you as a white person engaging in whiteness, are taking up enough space to allow this conversation to hold weight. When really it should just be like in one ear and out the other, girl, we don't got time, but it's taking up space. But anyway, unlike those people who would be culturally appropriating for the sake of just getting on a trend or elevating or what have you, Beyonce, as she does over and over again, has proven that she's done the work. Um, from the smallest of minute details. So yes, there are a bunch of bangers on the album, like as far as features like Dolly Parton, I'm sorry, and who it's not Willie Nelson. That's the black country singer, right? Willie. There's a guy who does two skits
Oh,
on
the
the
radio
album.
things.
Yeah, and he's like a very famous white country music star. So beyond those sort of um, inclusions in the album, she also has Linda Martell, which, if you did not know, was the first black female, I'm sorry, solo artist to play the Grand Ole Opry. And I just love it because you have Linda Martell intro a song, and then your next words are, "I ain't in no gang, but I got shooters and I bang." Like, Beyonce's a dangerous woman. She's telling y'all, like, I might not belong to nothing you think I got going on over here, or you think that I should, but I have shooters. And your set and mine. What are we talking about? Like, stop playing with me. Beyond that, she also names the song Spaghetti. And if you know anything about spaghetti westerns, those were Italian cinema. And, the good old boys, Americans, didn't like the spaghetti westerns because they felt like they weren't real. But the spaghetti westerns were actually more political. They were more cutthroat. They were more grungy and more complicated and had cynical topics. So that is something that has multiple layers of themes within this project, but also even down to the horse that's on the cover. So, I've, to my understanding, the first horse on the Act One CD, the people call Renee, like Neigh, like Nay. Um, and this one has been named Chardonnay, but it's a breed of horse called a Lipizan, or Lipizaner, excuse me if I'm not pronouncing right, but it's a horse that naturally its dark coat lightens over the years. So it's also some symbolism that country started off black as hell and it's gotten real white over the years.
Mm.
Beyonce's that girl. You can't tell me that she's not. Moving along. Anyway, that was a lot to say about the album. I'm pretty sure y'all been hearing so many things about the album from so many different outlets. So I just wanted to breeze through very quickly. But OVO, like you said, when you walk into a room, that's how people want to keep you. So, like, have you guys dealt with any?
I think what I want to highlight as well though is we have to keep in mind that Beyonce also wasn't given a lot of vocal credit in the beginning, right? It was a time in which people
Right.
really didn't want to give her singing ability any love, right? If she was a pretty
Mm-hmm.
girl with a pretty shape and pretty privileged, they wanted to put this pretty privileged trope on her, and I think even in that is kind of a necessary additive here because again, how they see you is how they would like to keep you. You are a cute
Mm-hmm.
girl who does cute things, and then I think people sometimes can um minimize your abilities in some capacity.
For sure.
And I think it's hard sometimes, which is why for me, even if I don't, let's say, love a project, but I'm now realizing that I love most of Beyonce stuff. But it's like, I've always had respect for that because I think it is
Mm-hmm.
easy to feel defeated in spaces and also feel minimized by the fact that you do exist under this umbrella of privilege, but also you're trying to break into an industry. You're trying to do your thing also while going solo. And also, she was alongside mostly brown and or dark skinned women when she was in Destiny's Child, right? Like I'm trying to think, like yeah, like all of them, like, for real. Yeah. So again, like you're trying to break into this space and on your own solo and get rid of all these things. And also, what I think has Beyonce has done beautifully is also do it while showing skin, which is also a
Mm-hmm.
very
And
Mm-hmm.
women
nuanced.
and
You know
sexual.
what I'm saying? Exactly. Like it's very easy to go into a very like raunchy space, but while still being able to do it in a respectable manner has been a very
Absolutely.
interesting space to
Elegant.
watch.
Mm-hmm.
Like so I think what we're seeing is a true artist, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think we have to give credit where it's due, and I think it's also a very hard thing to do because to answer your question now, Lene, it's like how people see you and to not fall under that trope is very very tough.
Yeah.
because how people see you and what they want, it's easy to kind of like fall back into that whole little thing when you're navigating new waters. Because with new waters, may not always come sales, may not always come love. Like Beyonce on her second clothing line when she did House of Devion, and that kind of went to whatever,
We
and then
gotta
we
let
did.
it go. It was a mistake.
No, for sure, right. But it's like you can easily say, okay, fashion is not going to be my jam. So then you come back with Ivy Park. You know what I'm saying? But again, it's like for someone who's
Right.
consistently saying, I'm going to keep going, there has to be something to be said for that. Because even for myself, in the ways in which I've transitioned from like coming into this space and kind of being a voice of queerness and the things, and also kind of having that level of decision when I first started doing content, when they were like, oh, he talks about his gay stuff, talk about something else. We're sick of hearing about gays every day. It's always, I love them, it's always gay, 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 gay. And then I started doing little commercials, and now it's always commercial, commercial, commercial. Well, listen now, like it's hard to like follow that. So to follow your
Mm-hmm.
internal voice, your creative self, I think also if we're gonna piggyback to that, it's still the same thing. Like if you're gonna follow what you feel called and led to do, which is what I think Beyonce has continuously done, even if we're clowning her on Jay-Z. That's who I chose. I like my nigga, no the Jackson. Like that's who I like.
And
Like
she
pull
gonna
up in a
keep
Sri
telling us
Lanka,
she like that
what?
man. She's
Period.
gonna keep telling us she like that man.
If I anyway, but I do want to say before we start talking about us, I do want to say you made a point earlier when you spoke about people saying like she was kind of, coming into this and trying to do her own thing. She didn't deserve to be a part of this. This is not her. Now, I don't know what it is. I don't identify with being Southern, right? I'm from the North.
Mm.
So that's my
Mm-hmm.
experience. But what I do identify with is being country. My family is from the country. And we had a conversation, I think, recently where we spoke about how country anywhere is country everywhere. And so it's like listening to this album, she says something like, you know, I'm the grandbaby of a moonshine man. First of all, the poetry was crazy, but that's
Mm-hmm.
another conversation in itself. But it's like little things
Mm-hmm.
like that, being barefoot. It brought so much
Mm-hmm.
nostalgia up for me because I remember like, and when I say my family is country, I mean country. Like I've peed in an outhouse before and in a chimney. For those of you who don't know what a chimney is, it's that little thing. Like when they say you don't got a pot to piss in and a window to throw it through, that's because people literally had these little pots that you pissed in and you threw it anyway. Like little things like that. I've walked barefoot. I've had my feet literally bitten up by ants one time because we was playing cricket outside in the dust road and I stood on an anthill, like country. And I think that there's a certain type of soul that comes with country. There's a certain type of thing that you speak about in country music. It's speaking about the complexity of simple emotions. It's speaking about wanting and looking towards something better. It's songs to your daughter. It's songs to your daddy. It's songs to your mama. Like it's things like that. And what she's speaking about, whether it was 16 carriages or daughter or spaghetti or any of these songs, it's very a part of her, of who she is. Like even that whole like my granddad was a moonshine man. When she gave us Formation, she spoke about being Creole. She painted the family portrait. This is not anything new. The only thing new is
Mm-hmm.
the beats and the lyrics, but it's still
Mm-hmm.
Beyonce. So how could
Mama,
Mm-hmm.
it?
Alabama, Valley, Louisiana. I like
Make that, with that
that.
Creole, make a Texas Bama. I like
I
my
like
baby hair with baby. What?
And period.
Yeah.
But to your
Mm-hmm.
question, Lene, so I guess back to you, OBO, answering that question, like, have you ever been in that place where you tried to break out from something and then people tried to put you back into a thing? Well, I guess you answered it, right? Earlier.
Yeah, I think I'm finding my way back. I just think it's tough.
I got my way
I think it's
back.
also tough, and I don't know if this is on. No, yeah, this is relevant. I think it's tough to consistently outdo yourself, right?
Oh my God.
And I
And
think,
this is
go ahead, go ahead.
nope.
And I think we can be our own worst critics, sure, but I think we have to be honest about how limited the attention span is of the consumer and how much they expect of the people that they find interesting. I think, you know what I'm saying? And so we're seeing the social landscape of people who have to be consistently and visually interesting. And it's tough to continue to do that without, especially when you're trying to avoid, and again, this is kind of like maybe a lesson or an advice space. trying to avoid critique. It's inevitable, right? People are going to be unhappy with you. And I think it's hard to then, like you said something earlier, something about like being public about your, I don't know if it's about the body, the BBL conversation or not, but it's like when you're public, it is difficult, and a lot of people think you sign up for this idea of people lashing at you and making fun of you and all these things. But it's like, I think some of that stuff can wear at you. And so even to answer the question you just asked, like, I'm finding my way back to a conversation that in my mind is very vast, but at the same time, it's like I feel multifaceted. And
Mm.
it's hard to be consistent in some of these things that I think to be taken seriously, people require consistency of you, which is why I think to Chloe Bailey's point, my point about Chloe Bailey, I think having an interesting time with being taken seriously as an artist, I think, because like we don't really know you know what I'm saying? It's like,
What
what we
about the story?
doing? Yeah. And I think like, you have all these people who are so much more interesting than how they are than what they're presenting to the space, but because they feel like I want to be taken seriously, I have to be consistent in the intellectual space or the beauty space or the whatever space I'm in. It makes it hard to maneuver in the ways in which your creativity is asking and begging of you to flow in. And so for me now, I'm finding myself like answering my creativity like, okay, bro, I'm gonna be chaotically consistent, and hopefully that becomes what people expect of me because there is a
Mm-hmm.
lot I want to say, but it's not all geared in one specific area, which is why again I applaud this album from Beyonce because I could very well see even Act One. Like that was to me a deviation
Yeah.
from her, and it was like okay, like how you feel about gay music. We're not saying it's gay music, but how the music that the gays celebrate in, it's like oh. And I think when she first dropped it, it was like all the guys, this is that gay, they doing that gay stuff, and now all these gays is, I can't go to the concert, everybody got on fishnets, and so it's like for you to be like a
You
person who is
wasn't
doing
coming to the
that,
concert anyway.
like stop.
What are you talking about?
You were gonna sing it in the bathroom when you thought you were alone, like you I've been doing for years, straight boy. We get it. Congrats. I be seeing y'all under y'all breath giving, I'm looking for crazy right now. I see it. You know the words. It's okay. Know the words. I get it. You know the words.
Yeah,
No
tag team
judgment.
for sure. No, I was just gonna say you're absolutely right, and you took the words right out of my mouth. Because what I was going to say is this is why Beyonce consistently is coming to us with stuff that's been in the works for 4 to 5 years. And Beyonce has also worked herself to a point to where she can disappear and work and then come and show us the new thing that a lot of like new creators just don't have the luxury to do. And so we're fighting this
Fair.
battle to like be consistent in at least one area while we work on the other stuff and try to then introduce this new thing. But then we're fighting what we've been so consistent in and like finding interest in that new thing. I definitely feel that way. Being pigeonholed in my content lane, I guess. Yeah, being pigeonholed to the point where I'm even being ushered into areas that I don't even feel like skilled or called in, and really trying to remind my audience, like, I'm a creative, guys. Like, I like to create things. I like to tell stories. And as much as I've been telling you and educating you on these things, at the heart of it, I've still been doing it in a creative way and like with all of this freedom attached to it. And what I noticed that everyone notices, even though it wasn't intentional, is like with all this poetic flow and verb. Like I am a poet, I'm a writer, and I want to show you more of that side of me. But when I posted, that was cute, girl. Now, back to the systemic oppression, you know.
I have a
So
question.
it's just tough.
Whose voice was that you just gave? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I don't know, somebody's auntie.
Okay.
I just have a
Mm,
question because to
okay.
that same point, right? On the opposite side of it, you, even Lene, being a creator who
Mm-hmm.
hates the word influencer, you never call yourself an influencer. And we've had that conversation before.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like sometimes people are gatekeeping because they don't want unserious people in their field? Not that Beyonce is an unserious person, but that sometimes
Mm.
people take someone who is different or someone who they think is not skilled in the craft coming into their field as now making it watered down?
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants that. I don't think anybody wants it, especially now because platforms give people so much license that doesn't like line up with their skill and or qualifications to have such license. For instance, Candace Owens, whatever happened with her, I don't even know what happened and why she was. I don't know what in what world Candace Owens would ever be on a black podcast, but her just being able to literally get on the Breakfast Club or Joe Budden's podcast, so I've heard that she's been on, and just the simple fact of her being able to be a guest because she's Candace Owens, because she has this level of influence, because there's X amount of like noise around her, she's given all of this license to be in spaces that she's not welcome in, because she literally was not with us shooting in the gym. She was not at the cookout. She's,
She's getting
like,
out of the gym. I'm sorry.
yeah. And so like, but yeah, and so I think it just happens in a lot of different ways for a lot of different reasons. But the world that we live in gives a lot of unserious people access that shouldn't have access. And I think the erroneous outlook on Beyonce is that she's unserious when she's just Beyonce. Yeah,
But even Candace Owens, unlikable, yes. But would we call Candace Owens unserious? Or would you call her unserious?
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think like
Okay.
I'm applying unserious in a different way around Candace Owens because I think the things that have come out of her mouth are unserious. I don't think she's ever believed anything that she says. And I think the fact that the moment she was ousted from her white spaces, she comes to a podcast like The Breakfast Club and or Joe Budden, like doubles down on her unseriousness about the things that she's ever said about black communities and black people, black men, black women, black folk, whatever. But I also feel like, to your point, Candace Owens is smart. Candace Owens is tactful. Candace Owens
Right.
is strategic. So I'm not saying that she's just out here playing, but I am saying that she is not someone who is respected. And I call her unserious because I do not respect her.
And you don't think she believes what she says?
No, absolutely not.
I think she believes what she says. I
Oh,
think she's
okay.
I think she's classist, and I think
Mm.
the like,
Mm.
but yeah.
Because
I
it
think
gives me
certain.
like, go ahead.
Mm-mm.
I was just gonna say, like, have you ever been to like, a PWI? Like, there's so many Candace Owens there who they truly believe that, and they also have lifestyles and experiences and a history of living that just like makes
I
sense.
think Candace Owens makes a lot of those people possible. Like especially like the young kids. I've seen like young kids on TikTok, whether it's that young Christian Walker boy, there was another black girl who was on the internet at some point during Black Lives Matter saying a bunch of bullshit. But I think figures like Candace Owens who are playing the game make young people like that exist. I think there are, really we've always had a Clarence Thomas. We've always had, a Carlton, so to speak.
Right.
But yeah, but I think Candace Owens specifically, who was in the role as an influential figure and a mouthpiece, I think she 100% knows what's happening and knows how she's being used. And what tells me more about her knowing that is again how she strategically is trying to enter black spaces for audience in black spaces now that she's lost her white one. I don't think she's ever been
No,
oblivious.
that's valid. That's valid.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think, yeah, I don't know. I think classism is a really interesting game. I follow this woman on TikTok, love her. She's always going live. And on her last live, her daughter got accepted to Spelman. Her daughter started screaming. She's like, oh my God, I got my accepted letter. She's going to Spelman. And on the live, the mom who was doing a live, she was like, congrats, babe, da 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 da. And she was talking to her husband, and she was saying that they're grateful that she got into Spelman because her Spelman tuition is cheaper than her high school's tuition. And so they live in New York, and they were saying they're going to get a tax, not tax, they're going to get a break, right? And on the live, of course, for me, I'm like, dang, how much is the high school tuition? However, I think one of my friends said this often, or said this, and I remember it often. A flex is contingent upon the room you are in,
Mm-hmm.
and so like you can say you can say yeah, you can put in your car, and in some spaces it's just a car, and in some spaces it's like oh my god, And I think when it comes to these spaces, it's like I've seen people who think in this way because of classism, right? Because you had access to things that we don't have access to in a lot of ways, and it puts you in this position that I would not be in, and it makes you feel so. I can't say the word. It makes you feel so oblivious to what's going on. And I think because Candace Owens is smart, I think I might be altering my opinion based on what you said, Lene, is that like she is too smart to be as socially oblivious as she has projected for this amount of time. So I think maybe in
Yeah.
that same regard, yeah, I guess I have to agree now.
Oh, and I
Yeah.
do believe it's been a very long time since I've like paid close attention to anything she's had going on. But I remember I used to show a video of hers like in my classes where she was telling young people that they are not suffering, they are not enslaved, just to see what like whatever. We that was a part of a lesson that we did.
Hmm.
But I remember in searching for those videos, I saw videos of a younger version of herself when she was like a Democrat and was espousing certain things that would contradict what she's saying now. So yeah, I think 100% she made a move for a check.
Agree.
Um, but yeah, so that's that. I don't even know how many followers she has, but I do wonder how much having a following pressures you into sticking with what's been working for your career. Because what we see with her is that the following that she had could be depleting. And so she's making a switch. And I don't know what that switch is going to actually be. Like if she's ever going to be like, if she's ever going to be on Oprah, like, they had me sign all these papers and I had to say these things and I never thought that. And I'm so sorry. And I'm so relieved in my soul. And I got my soul back from the devil. I don't know if it's ever going to go that far,
Yeah.
but I wonder what you guys think.
I think
Uh,
that proximity is more powerful than having a following. Having a
hmm,
following changes your proximity. And the reason that I
hmm,
say that is I still am of the belief that she's very serious about what she's saying and very much believes it. And that's what it is. Because I think about the Carlton reference too, right? Carlton was cute and funny because we had a Will Smith.
hmm,
But if he was Carlton on his own, he would be very problematic. Carlton wasn't with the ghetto. He didn't like blackness. He didn't identify for real as being a black person.
Did he dislike it or was he ignorant to it?
He was ignorant
I
and he
think he
disliked
disliked it. I think he just and
for
I
sure.
because Kyle watches it a lot, and I feel like Carlton only ever bought into blackness when he saw it served Will in some way.
Correct.
I
It,
think
yeah,
he bought into the popularity, but I think that Carlton, even when we think about when they got locked up, they got pulled over, and Will's like, we got pulled over for driving a nice car in a dark neighborhood. And Carlton was like, what? Like, no, like that wasn't why. That can't be why. And it's like, no, that's why. I think, but anyway, matter of fact, maybe do a Fresh Prince decoding because, Carlton was one of my earlier crushes. But go ahead, sorry.
interesting. So the
Okay.
reason
All
I
right, from
say
thick,
that
baby.
is
What happened?
so the reason I
When
say
he was in that pool, real quick, Sim, if I may, when he was in that pool and Uncle Phil came home because Will threw that party and he had that rubber ducky around him, and Uncle Phil popped that ducky and that joint deflated and I saw what was inflated. Mm. What happened? Oh. Huh? Oh. Anywho, what happened? Wait, so was Hillary classist or was she ignorant too?
she was
Both.
ignorant.
Both. Okay.
She
100%
was.
classic
Ignorant.
though.
100%. Okay.
I say just really just ignorant because she gave me go with the flow wherever it may go.
We should do like, I don't know if I should throw this in here, but just in us thinking of all the things we should do with our podcast, I think it would be a vibe to like do a decoding session of a sitcom or show like once every blue moon, once a month,
I would
because I
love
have a
that.
lot of things about to say about living single as well.
Oh, me
Um,
too. And I don't think we had the
yeah,
conversation personally too, so I think that'd be really good.
sure. Mm,
Okay, so let's hold for maintenance.
okay.
And wait, can I say this really quickly? This is probably my favorite
Ooh, me
episode so
too.
far. Like
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
yeah, this one was good. Like this was good conversation. Um, so and it's gonna be an elongated, not elongated. It's gonna be a piggyback on what we already discussed. But is there any like standard in which you actively reject? 'Cause I think we talked a lot about like, people pigeonholing you, people putting you in boxes, people making sure that you are who you've been introduced to them as and all these things. Is there a standard that you probably should or that's right there for the taking, but you guys actively say, I'm not gonna do that thing?
That mom,
I got a couple.
Okay.
that
Go
mom
ahead, Sam.
shit. Like this very
Oh.
specific type of square cardigan wearing mom that this be home by 6:30, the dinner's already on the stove because I put my chicken in overnight. This, I don't really go outside because I'm always home with my kids. This, I have to, check with my man before I do anything. This, put my dreams on hold because now I'm about to have 3 kids.
Mm,
Not dress up how I want to, not do my hair, not take this frumpy, I have to throw away my life now person that society expects us to become. I fight against that every single day from family members. Sometimes I have to for my own partner because we are so programmed to feel like once a woman is,
yeah.
at a certain place in her life where she has a certain amount of kids, that life looks this way. Baby, I'm outside. I'm pregnant and the summer's still mine. I'm gonna be outside. Like, it just is what it is. Sorry.
Period.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know that's right.
Yeah, I love that.
What about y'all?
Um, I think career-wise, the one that I'm always gonna take a firm stand against is that I need to go into some sort of like politics or office type job to like create change. Um, I don't like the fact that everybody is strong, but I just don't like the fact I got a comment most recently. Um, on my last video, I opened with a bit of satire to say, I'm tired. I don't want to talk about trauma. There's nothing new to say. And someone said, when you have this type of platform, you can never get tired. Like, I come to you for this, that, and the other. And I said, no, unfortunately, I can't get tired, and I am. And we can't like pedestalize certain people to grin and bear it all, or like require certain people to take it all. Like, we have to share the responsibility. And so, what I dislike is when people have platforms and they're able to be versed and teach you how to be versed in certain topics that you believe they have to be your champion. And they can be your champion, just maybe not the way that you see fit. So I don't like that sort of pigeonholing, but that's just career wise. To some of your points, Sam, like the way that I carry myself, I feel like I'm always going to I'm not going to make any part of myself small. And by parts of myself, I mean the way that I look, my body, having undergone childhood sexual abuse, having undergone like just like Black Christian, whatever. My body is mine, and I'm going to do with what I want with it. I'm going to revere it as the temple that I see it is, and celebrate it in whatever way that I see fit, whether it's my slang, whether it's my vocabulary, whether it's like my Ebonics, whether I talk my African American vernacular English, like all of me, like whether I'm not sacrificing any part of it to make a point to be taken more seriously in certain areas. I'm just not, because God designed me to be this way. He designed me to be this way to hit a certain pocket of people that hasn't been hit. And I don't even know how I got to this point in conversation, but I don't ever toot the horn that is mine. But I did something. I did something really different and strange and a little awkward but important, and it reached a class of people that just did not care before or did not have the knowledge before. And so I'm not sacrificing any of that to be a better version of any parts of pieces that somebody wants me to be. Um, but yeah, and like to my point earlier about humility, I've been experiencing humility in a new way. Um, and like making sure I'm not the smartest person in the room, and being willing to be the most ignorant person in a room to enhance the way I'm able to show up in the rooms where people are looking to me. So I mean that was very vague, but I just want to share that, like we can't be so good at what we do that we're unwilling to humble ourselves to be better, to grow, to change, to transform. And I've just been feeling even a weight lifted off my shoulders by not trying to carry it all and not trying to be the best and figure it all out, because that's why there are millions of people on this planet. It's somebody's job to do everything, and somebody's role to help you to see and do and have different perspectives and learn. So yeah.
I love that. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Be safe in these streets.
You don't you so you don't answer the question.
We're gonna cut it here.
Good night. I'm sick.
Is there a high? Is there a heart in the house tonight? Stand up, stand up, stand up.
This part for me.